There's a study from 2015 that showed that the quality and quantity of sleep that we get is actually a big predictor of the type of weight that we lose. Sleep and hydration, those two things being the foundation of health. And without good quality and quantity of sleep, as well as being properly hydrated, it becomes very challenging to do things like working out, to do things like healthy nutrition, to do things like finding the community. What is up? Michael Krug, board certified health coach here. And today I want to share 5 of the most important health strategies for 2025. And when we're looking at these health strategies, I chose them because they all have a form of leverage, which all that means is that we're going to get more out of it for what we put in, right? So there's a lot of things out there. I feel like every week, every month, there's a new gadget, widget, secret, tool, something, whether it's red lights or cold plunge or grounding mats, whatever it may be. And I'm not saying that those things aren't impactful and that they don't help, but these are the 5 things that you need to focus on to make sure that you're actually going to get results in 2025. A lot of what I talk about and focus on. So if you don't know me, if you're new to my channel, my name is Michael Krug. I'm a board certified health coach. I've lost 160 pounds. I've sustained the weight loss for 12 years. Now I work with people to help with a lot of weight loss, but also muscle gain and longevity. And all of these strategies are going to help when it comes to fat loss and weight loss, muscle gain, as well as longevity. Honestly, these things will also help with performance, mental health, cognition, all of that. So without further ado, let's jump in. So there's 5 things. And the first thing, the most important thing, or they're all important, right? But one of the most important things that you can do for your health in 2025 is to get your sleep right. And when I say get your sleep right, I really mean getting the proper quantity and the proper quality of sleep that our body needs to be able to function and perform at a high level every single day. I talk about sleep and hydration, those two things being the foundation of health. And without good quality and quantity of sleep, as well as being properly hydrated, it becomes very challenging to do things like working out, to do things like healthy nutrition, to do things like finding the community. We're going to go through all of those points here. But I wanted to also share, there's a study from 2015 that showed that the quality and quantity of sleep that we get is actually a big predictor of the type of weight that we lose. So quick synopsis of the study, I can post the link in the show notes. They had 2 groups. One group was forced to wake up at like 5.5 hours every day. The other group was allowed to sleep as much as they wanted. They controlled all the other variables. So they had the same workout programs, same diet, meal programs, and everything. And though both groups lost weight, the group that was allowed to sleep as much as they wanted, the majority of their weight loss came from body fat. The group that was forced to wake up at 5.5 hours every day, the majority of their weight loss was from muscle. And that's because while we're sleeping, our body is rebuilding those muscles that we tear down through exercise. Our body is clearing out toxins. It's also really important for hormonal resets. And when our hormones are off, when our body's not recovering, again, it's really hard to do anything from a physical health perspective. So sleep is hands down like probably 1A. It's up there as like most important things that we can focus on for health. And if you're looking to improve your sleep, some things that can help. So one is to aim for sleep cycles, so 90-minute sleep cycles. And I tell everyone try and get at least 7.5 hours of sleep every single night. With that too, your sleep hygiene, so making sure that your environment is primed for success. You want to have your room be a little bit cooler, ideally 1 to 3 degrees cooler than the rest of your home if possible. You want to have no light, obviously. Light disrupts melatonin production. It makes it so we can't sleep, right? If you're asleep and a bright light turns on, you usually wake up. As well as minimize noise. Again, noise is going to keep us awake at the same time. Another thing that I always recommend to clients as well is to have your room, your bedroom, or wherever it is that you sleep, have that be a place for sleep. So if you find yourself working in bed, if you find yourself, I don't know, there's obviously other extracurriculars that happen in the bedroom. But if we can separate and delineate the bedroom being a place where we focus on getting quality sleep versus doing other things, it's going to make us and help us get better sleep and get to sleep faster. So that's what I would recommend. And then I would also recommend looking at your evening routine. So things like getting off of your screens and minimizing blue light at least an hour, if not earlier, before bedtime. One thing that can help a lot is reading before bed. So the side to side eye movement is actually great for melatonin production. You could also take a hot shower. Hot shower is actually going to cool the body. And like I said, your body wants to cool itself 1 to 3 degrees while it's sleeping. And it might sound counterintuitive, like how does a hot shower make me cool? Well, when you heat up externally, your body turns on its internal cooling systems, right? So if you are a cold shower person, I'd recommend don't do that at the end of the day. Do that in the morning because it's going to heat your body up. In the evening, we want to cool down, so we take a hot shower. And then honestly, speaking of extracurriculars, one thing that can help a lot is having sex before bed. Helps us fall asleep. So that's what I got. Number 1 is to get your sleep right. Point number 2 of important things to focus on health-wise in 2025 is to stay hydrated. So like I mentioned, we have this foundation of health, of which sleep and hydration are the 2 bottom parts. And hydration is so important. So there's some loose evidence out there that shows that even if you're like 1% dehydrated, below what your body actually needs to function, it can impair cognition, it can impair physical performance, it can cause mental health issues. There's a lot related to hydration and being properly hydrated. Right? When it comes to hydration as well, when it comes to physical performance, like in workouts, as well as mental performance, whether you're working, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a C-suite executive, or if you're a teacher, being hydrated helps us in performance in all areas of life. As a general rule of thumb, when it comes to the amount of water to drink, half of your body weight in pounds in ounces per day. So for example, if I weighed 200 pounds, I would want to drink 100 ounces of water per day. And that's a baseline just to function, okay? So again, if you're 150 pounds, you want at least 75 ounces just to function. And then on top of that, if you are exercising, especially if you're doing intense exercise, you're gonna want to consume 7 ounces of water per 15 minutes of moderate to intense exercise per day. As a general rule of thumb, you can do 5 to 10 additional ounces. To round it up and make it easy, you could say 5 or 10. So let's say I do an hour-long, pretty intense workout, then I might want to drink 60 extra ounces of water, between 30 and 60 extra ounces of water. And I will say, you can recognize when you're dehydrated. If you feel low energy, if you feel brain fog, and if nothing else has changed, you just haven't drank enough water, that's a good telltale sign. Another thing to consider with water is the use of electrolytes. So electrolytes, specifically magnesium, sodium, and potassium, are going to help your body better use the water that you do consume. So I'm not affiliated with this brand, but I personally use Element brand electrolytes. LMNT is the name of the brand. They got some great flavors, good products out there. Those have a significant amount of sodium, potassium, magnesium. That being said, there are a lot of other options out there that you can use for electrolytes. Not 100% mandatory and necessary, but they definitely can help, especially for, again, using leverage with hydration to get the most out of the water that we consume. And then another thing that I personally do and that I think will help you stay hydrated throughout the day is to hydrate early and often. So me personally, within the first 2 hours upon waking, I drink at least 40 ounces of water. So I have my 40-ounce water bottle here. So within 2 hours of waking up, I usually wake up around 6:37. So usually before 9 a.m., I've had at least 40 ounces of water. It's a primacy effect. So when you start your day with water, your body's gonna be like, oh, this is great. I like this. Let's keep drinking more water throughout the day. So those are some of my tips. That's how I get my water in every day. I personally drink over a gallon every single day. I probably have done that for at least a decade straight. And again, hydration is gonna help you a lot on your health journey, especially in 2025. So tip number 3, when it comes to important things for health in 2025, is going to be to prioritize protein and fiber. So when it comes to nutrition, I just try and keep things as simple as possible. I do a lot of batch cooking, meal prepping, simple meals, things that the whole family, right? My wife, myself, my stepkids, and being able to do that from a perspective of focusing on protein and fiber, it's actually pretty simple. So if we think about protein sources, it's going to be animal-based products such as meat, cheese, eggs. Those are great sources of protein. The most bioavailable protein does come from animal sources. And then for fiber, it's going to come from plants. So if we think fruits, vegetables, leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and legumes, those are all foods that are going to be high in fiber. And again, as a general rule of thumb with nutrition, we're going to focus on whole, real foods. If it runs, flies, swims, or grows from the earth, it should be good to go, especially in its whole form. And that's how you're going to be able to do that. Now, if we were going to break it down a little bit further and think about our goals and what we're aiming for, when it comes to protein, the bare minimum that you ought to have for protein per day is 0.7 grams per pound of lean body weight. Okay, so we're going to break down that formula here. Again, for simple math, let's use round numbers. If I'm a 200-pound individual and I have 20% body fat, that means that my lean body mass is going to be 160 pounds. The ratio would be my lean body mass, 160 times 0.7 is going to equal 112. So I want to aim for a bare minimum 112 grams of protein per day. Okay. Now, for me personally, and what I encourage a lot of my clients to do is to actually aim for a gram of protein per pound of body weight. Okay. So again, if I'm 200 pounds, that'd be 200 grams of protein per day, which sounds like a lot, but if you're eating whole real foods, if you have an emphasis on animal-based high quality proteins, it's actually not that difficult to do it. So again, as a bare minimum, 0.7 times your lean body mass, which if you want to figure that out, it's your total body weight times the inverse of your body fat percent times 0.7. Hope that makes sense. But if you're looking to optimize and get the most out of it, I would aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And keep in mind with this, you're not going to be 100% every time. There might be days when you have, let's say you're aiming for 200 grams. There might be days where you're 200, 220. There might be days where you're 100 or 120. But consistency over time and aiming for those goals is going to help you a ton. Now, on the flip side, we have fiber, and there is not really a real formula for fiber. The general agreed upon guidelines is that for women, you want to eat at least 25 grams of fiber per day. And for men, you want to eat at least 30 grams of fiber per day. So that's a lot of plants. A lot of people will supplement to get their fiber in. I'm not against supplementation. I do think that whole real foods are going to be the best bet, especially with fiber, because there are a lot of different types of fiber that our body likes to eat. There's soluble fiber, insoluble fiber, and within those two categories, there's a lot of different kinds. That being said, if you can eat a variety of plant-based foods, that's going to be your best bet. And there are some great supplements out there, a lot of those athletic greens. So again, I'm not affiliated with these brands. A client of mine gifted me Live It Up brand athletic greens, which I've been taking for 2 days now and I really enjoy. There's also AG1, which is very popular. And then I personally use, it's a protein powder, but it's more of a supplement. It's called Orgain Organic. It's a plant-based protein, but it also has a lot of fiber in it. 2 scoops of that protein blend has 160 calories, 21 grams of protein, and 8 grams of fiber. So if I'm doing 3 scoops of that, so a serving and a half per day, I'm already at 12 grams of fiber. I add in those greens, that's 15 grams of fiber. And then I just fill in the rest with vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, legumes, those types of things. So another thing that's interesting as well, there was a study, I'll see if I can find it, and if I do, I'll link it in the show notes. I heard Layne Norton talking about this, but there was a study on fiber that showed that for each additional 10 grams of fiber we eat per day, our all-cause mortality drops by 10%, which is kind of crazy, right? Like obviously, people get hit by cars, there's accidents, stuff happens. And when it comes to a health perspective, the more fiber we eat, the better off we're going to be. There's even evidence to show that adequate fiber consumption as we age and get older helps with muscle retention through longevity. And there's actually some research show that it's just as important as protein when it comes to muscle retention. So point number 3, when it comes to what you want to focus on health-wise 2025, prioritize protein and fiber in every single meal. One more thing on that note, with protein, there used to be this myth that you can only eat 30 grams of protein, and then if you have any more than that in one sitting, you're just going to pee or poop it out. That's not true. You can have up to 100 grams of protein in one serving and still get the benefits. So don't feel like you're overeating on protein. It also helps you feel full and satiation for longer. So that's my recommendations for nutrition. Okay. Tip number 4 for most important things to focus on health-wise in 2025 is to practice resistance training. Now, with exercise, yes, all exercise is important. All exercise leads up. I'm a huge fan of walking, hiking, cycling. Cardio is great. I love it. I think it's fantastic and important. And if your goal is to lose body fat, if your goal is to gain muscle, and your goal is to increase your longevity, building muscle mass is going to be the most optimal form of exercise. And we do that through resistance training. We build muscle through resistance training. Now, there's a lot of different types of resistance training. HIIT technically counts. So if you're doing super high intensity and then you slow it down back and forth. If you're doing weightlifting, right? So barbells, kettlebells, dumbbells, whatever it may be. Calisthenics, bodyweight workouts, again, high intensity style workouts. That's what's going to help you build muscle mass. Again, sprinting will help with that too, but not just basic cardio. Like basic cardio, like long or low intensity steady state cardio, like cycling or hiking or biking. It's great. It's important for your heart and lungs, but it's not going to help with muscle gain and muscle building. When it comes to resistance training, general rule of thumb, I would aim for at least a 20 to 30 minute workout, especially if you're doing minimal rest. You're getting the most out of it. You're actually getting the benefits of cardio and resistance training at the same time. And I'd recommend doing 3 to 5 resistance style training workouts per week. I personally do like 6 or 7, and that's because I love it and I get a lot out of it. That being said too, if you do want some workout programs, I've got 3 free programs in my Inspired Wellbeing community. I will put the link to join that community in the show notes here. It's a fun time in there. And speaking of community, our 5th most important point when it comes to being healthy in 2025 and accomplishing your health goals, especially if it's weight loss, muscle gain, longevity, is to find a community. Okay, one of the most underrated pieces of health that we forget about is the importance of community. As human beings, we are communal in nature, which means that we like to interact with other human beings. And if we can do that in a setting where we have multiple people who are focused on similar goals, whether it's weight loss, muscle gain, longevity, being as healthy as we can be, we are going to continue to be re-motivated and re-inspired by other people sharing their stories. And when we share our stories, we get to do the same thing for those people. So finding a community is key. Now, there's a lot of different places you can get community. You can join a networking group. You can join a gym, especially those boutique style gyms like a CrossFit gym. You can go on Eventbrite or Meetup. Those are websites that have a lot of in-person community activities wherever you live at. You could join networking groups again like BNI, Chamber of Commerce, or whatever it may be. That being said, especially for busy people, if you're watching this, there's a good chance that you're busy like me, you've got kids, you're working. There are some benefits and there's a lot of opportunities out there when it comes to finding online communities. That's why I created this Inspired Wellbeing community. It is free to join. Again, I've got free workout programs, free courses, free meal plans, free recipe guides. But I think the biggest value that we get out of that community is that there's people in there every day sharing what's working for them, what's not, what are their wins, what are their challenges. And it's a place where we can foster community and we can all grow together. So if you want to join, the link for the Inspired Wellbeing community is in the show notes. And that's what I got. Honestly, health and fitness, it does not need to be complicated. Again, there's tons of stuff out there. And this is really, with this video, what I'm trying to share is the above the line issues or above the line strategies and below the line. The above the line strategies are the things that I mentioned today. So sleep, hydration, protein and fiber, resistance training, and community. Those are the things that are truly going to make a difference. Then once we have those things set and we have routines and habits in place with those, then we can go below the line. Then we can start to go into infrared saunas and red light therapy. We can go into PMF or whatever it may be. There's a lot of stuff out there, even extra supplementation, right? So really focusing on the basics, the above the line issues, it's going to help you the most. So that's what I got. I hope to see you in the Inspired Wellbeing community. And as always, until next time, keep inspiring.